You open your fridge, you spot a yogurt cup in the back. It looks fine, it smells fine, it tastes fine, probably. But then you see the date on the lid, expired yesterday. And suddenly, your brain does something strange. It panics. Your hand moves toward the bin almost automatically, even though nothing about that yogurt has actually changed in the last 24 hours. Today, we're uncovering the truth behind one of the most misunderstood labels in your home. A printed date that quietly controls what you eat, what you throw away, and what you think is keeping you safe. And once you understand what that date actually means, you'll never look at your fridge the same way again. Here's a number that should stop you cold. More than 80% of Americans throw away perfectly good, edible food simply because they misunderstood a label. Not because the food was dangerous, not because it smelled off, because of a printed date they didn't fully understand. Globally, around 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted every year, roughly 1/3 of everything produced for human consumption. The economic cost of that waste runs to approximately $1 trillion annually. And here's the part that's genuinely hard to sit with. All the world's nearly 1 billion hungry people could be fed on less than a quarter of the food wasted in the US, UK, and Europe alone. A significant chunk of that waste traces back to one thing, a date stamp that most of us have never actually been taught to read correctly. For most of human history, food didn't come with a date. People used their senses. Smell it, look at it. If milk smelled sour, you didn't drink it. Simple, direct, reliable. That changed in the 20th century. Before World War II, before refrigerators became standard, people got most of their food from local farms, and they'd just look at it, smell it, taste it, and know if it went bad. But as processed food grew and grocery stores replaced farms as the main source of food, people started asking, how long is this actually good for? By the 1970s, 95% of consumers thought dates on food were the most useful thing on the package. And then state lawmakers started introducing food date laws, often based on personal experiences. One lawmaker went to a store, bought hot dog buns, brought them home, and they were stale. So he introduced a bill. Everyone agreed. It passed. That's the origin of a system that now governs trillions of dollars worth of food worldwide. Personal frustration, turned into law, applied everywhere, without any unified science behind it. Here's where most people get lost, because there isn't just one type of date. There are three, and they mean completely different things. Best before is about quality, not safety. After this date, food may slowly lose some flavor, texture, or freshness, but it is almost always still safe to eat if it's been stored properly. Use by is the one that actually matters for safety. This applies to highly perishable items. Fresh meat, fresh fish, unpasteurized dairy. After this date, harmful bacteria can develop at a rate that makes the food genuinely risky. Sell by isn't even for you. It's a message to the store, telling retailers how long to keep a product on the shelf. It says nothing about when the food becomes dangerous. The current system of expiration dates misleads consumers to believe they must discard food to protect their own safety. In fact, the dates are only suggestions by the manufacturer for when the food is at its peak quality, not when it is unsafe to eat. Most people treat all three labels the same way. They see any date that's passed, and they throw the food away. That single misunderstanding is responsible for an enormous amount of the waste. Here's something that surprises almost everyone. Product dating is not required by federal regulations, except for infant formula. There is no uniform system that manufacturers are required to use. This means there is large variation in which type of date they list, how they determine it, and whether they need to list a date at all. In other words, manufacturers set their own dates, They test their products under controlled conditions. Then they choose a date that guarantees the product still meets their quality standards. Not the last safe day, their quality standard. And to protect themselves legally, companies choose conservative dates, which means the food almost always lasts longer than the label suggests. And the inconsistency goes further than you'd expect. In Montana, milk has to be sold within 12 days of pasteurization. In Idaho, it's 23 days. The science is exactly the same. The milk is exactly the same. But the date on the label is completely different, because the laws in those two states are different. If expiration dates were purely about safety, that couldn't happen. The date would be the same everywhere. The fact that it isn't tells you everything about what these dates actually are. So does this mean you should ignore all dates? No, context matters. Dates matter most for fresh meat, fresh seafood, unpasteurized dairy, and deli items. These are genuinely perishable. The use-by date on those products exists for a real reason and deserves respect. But for the vast majority of what's in your kitchen, most dairy products can last 1 to 2 weeks past their date. Eggs last about 2 weeks beyond the printed date. Grains can last over a year. Canned goods can last years beyond their printed date without becoming dangerous. Honey, kept sealed, essentially never expires. Frozen food, stored properly, is safe indefinitely. The date only reflects quality. Your senses are still your best tool. Smell it. Look at it. If something seems genuinely off, it probably is. If it seems fine, it probably is. That instinct hasn't stopped working just because a label exists. If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, behind only the United States and China. The average American family of 4 loses around $1,500 every year to uneaten food. That's not food that went bad. That's largely food that got thrown away because of a date that was misunderstood. Because consumers avoid buying items close to their dates, supermarkets often won't accept perfectly good food from suppliers, or discard it as soon as the date approaches just to make room for newer stock. The confusion doesn't just happen in your kitchen. It ripples through the entire food chain. So the next time you open your fridge and see a date that's passed, pause before you throw it out. Ask yourself, is this a use-by or a best before? Is this fresh meat or a jar of pasta sauce? Does it look off? Or does it just have yesterday's date? Expiration dates were created to guide quality and reduce risk, not to override your common sense, not to replace your senses, and not to make the decision for you. Understanding what those 3 dates actually mean can save your household real money, cut down on genuine waste, and help you make smarter decisions every single time you open that fridge. Thank you for watching Unknown Behind Known Things. If this changed the way you'll look at food labels, share it with someone who throws things out the moment they expire. They might be surprised. Subscribe for more hidden stories behind the everyday things you've never thought to question.